Hello, and welcome back to Business by the Books, the podcast that teaches you how to use your financials to better manage your business. Brad, welcome to Business by the Books.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We started to dive into the behaviors of clients before we hit record. But before we continue that conversation, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do?
Sure. I'm a financial advisor, bit of a coach in the financial world. Went from an original background of teaching fifth grade in public schools down in South Florida. My degree was in
that sounds terrible.
It was an interesting environment. You definitely felt needed. I don't know how much we really taught. Curriculum was more, don't beat up or don't do this or don't, it was a rough crowd.
Bless your soul.
It was fun. I had no visions of doing anything different other than teaching and coaching. But I flipped into finance 22 years ago based on some hiccups and investing in the wrong things at the wrong time. And I'm like, I feel really naive and inexperienced, and I need to figure out how this stuff works. And that's what prompted me to leave education and kind of go cold turkey in the world of finance. And the feeling of being on an island alone, like am I the only person that doesn't understand this? I quickly observed that, oh crap, there's pretty much everyone I know is on the same island. And like this place is really crowded.
It is a very big island. It's
a very big island. So that provided, I guess, some motivation. Like if I can just understand content and I can very easily teach people, that comes natural to me to teach concepts. So it's just like, I have a new level of content I have to learn. And then once I felt like I can get my arms around it, could I go share this with other people? Not only learn for myself, but then share with others. And where I thought getting into it, I was like, I got to learn all these strategies and maneuvers with finance and managing investments and dealing with insurance and all that stuff. What I quickly figured out is there's a lot more to this. There's a lot, I would say a much deeper issue going on in finance. And that's what got me more into the psychology and behavioral observations of human behavior with money.
Yeah. Similar background for me. It was, I thought decision-making as a business owner was black and white. As a CFO, I presented data, and as the CEO, the business, the investors, private equity firm, right? They took the data and made pretty black and white decisions. It's very different when you're working with entrepreneurs and their money and their money mindset and this baby that they created.
Yeah, well, it's definitely their baby. Yeah.
Yeah. Before we hit record, we were saying for a lot of our clients, it's really interesting how many of our clients won't want to actually jump on a call with us to review their financial statements and their snapshot. And I think that we have a really incredible group of women who work here. They're kind, thoughtful, very friendly, smile a lot. They're more like cheerleaders and
not intimidating.
Yeah. And we still can't get people on a call. So talk to me a little bit about the psychology and what you're finding with your clients.
I think you've probably seen the same thing. There's certainly a level of vulnerability, right? Being willing to be transparent, to admit that maybe I made a mistake here or that I don't understand something here. Although from my work, I've observed there's more of a hang up with men in that space than there's women.
Interesting.
I don't know if you've seen that with the work that you do and the clientele that you have. But from my observation, and I'm generalizing, of course, women tend to be more accepting and willing to admit that I don't know how this works. And they seem more willing to desire for education and guidance to better understand things. Men, I think it's probably partially due to like societal views of men historically are supposed to be good with this stuff. And so I think there's more pressure on men to share their vulnerability and to be willing to want to learn. But I think in general, I don't mean to go off on a tangent about the male and female comparisons, but I think it's tough for people to still admit that I don't understand how this works, and I have to admit that I need some help. And that might be due to, like you talked about the percentage of booking calls and people that come in, and the resources and the services that you provide, and we're accepting and we're not judgmental and here to help. But I still think it's tough for people to get past that.
How does this impact the way people are investing? Because you're working with them as their financial advisor. So how does that end up impacting overall wealth and how they invest?
That's a good question. I have observed over the years that most folks want to put the cart before the horse. Investing's sexy. It's fun. Everyone likes to talk about investing. It's every talk show, radio, advertisement, social media. I mean, everything's about if you just do this to invest. People want to jump into that right out of the gate. And I think that could cause some problems down the road. So putting the cart before the horse, let's invest. Let's talk about investing, max out my Roth, do my 401k, set up my brokerage account, whatever it might be. But if I don't have a good sense of my foundation underneath me regarding my finances and understanding my inflows and outflows and what am I saving towards future obligation and how am I managing my debt obligations, how am I communicating about money in my household with a partner or spouse, how am I modeling that behavior with my kids if I have them? I mean, and that's where the psychology and behavior comes into it. So, in the US, I think the latest data that I saw, the average savings rate in this country is 4.4%, a personal household savings rate, meaning I'm saving 4.4% of what I'm making for retirement or kids' education or whatever it might be.
And that's not including like general savings, right?
That's just as a percentage of income coming in. So, I make $100,000 a year. I'm saving $4,400 towards my future plan, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, that is just not going to get it done. It's not even going to come close. And so you can find the best investments out there that are getting the best yields or rates of return. If your savings rate is going to hold at 4.4 consistently, I don't care what your rate of return is in that investment. You're not going to make it. You're not going to hit the targets or the goals or the vision or plans that you have for whatever quote unquote retirement or other future obligation is. And I go back to, I think it's important. We need to go back and identify, why is our savings rate 4.4? What are we doing on a daily basis? Where are our spending habits and behaviors? What are we pushing money towards? Why aren't we able to save more? I mean, I know why we aren't. I know why society's so low.
I was say, so tell me why. What are you saying?
We're an instant gratification society. I mean, we're taught to budget. I mean, you work with numbers all the time, mm-hmm. right? In personal finance, I usually throw people on a bit of a curveball right when I meet them. I'm like, by the way, we're not going to budget. And they're like, what? Did you just say we're not going to budget? I'm like, we're going to prioritize cash flow, but we are not going to budget. And what I've seen most people do from a budgeting perspective, I often refer to it as a reverse tracking mechanism to go back and reconcile to show us that we all suck at budgeting. And it's a horrible exercise, right? So it's like, I did this years ago where, okay, I'm going to spend this much at the grocery store. Our budget for Target's $100 a month, yada, yada, yada. And then at the end of the month, I'm going back and I'm reconciling. I'm like, we spent $158 at Target. I thought the budget was $100, right? And so what are we doing wrong? And my experience was, we just need to lock down and be tighter about what we're doing this and stick to our guns on this. And every month, inevitably, it didn't work. And so I've pulled out my hair, obviously, a long time ago with this, being frustrated. But for me, many years ago, I was like, I got to figure out how to do this a different way. So I think a lot of the 4.4, the lagging 4.4%, then we're not good compared to a lot of other nations, is we want what we want it now. We try to budget and track things. People use these applications on their phones now to track every nickel and dime. I don't want to micromanage that stuff. I don't think it's necessary either if you're doing this right. So I just think our priorities are a little out of whack. Like, go get what you want, spend now. I'm going to save whatever's remaining. Like, I'm supposed to have this amount of money left over each month. Sometimes it gets saved, sometimes it doesn't. And I set up a lifestyle that is it's too big. It's more than I can handle based on the income that's being generated in my household. And so that I think is where the opportunity for most change can happen. Is if I dive.
Yeah. What do we do? Like, what do we change if that's happening? Because I agree with you. We're setting up businesses, we're setting up lives that we can't actually maintain. So what we need to come out of our business to fund our personal lives, we're not able to hit those numbers. So what do we do to change?
Because how about a horrible stress too, by the way? Just that's the classic out earn the problem, right? Like I've built a lifestyle based on whatever I want to have. And then I think this happens with a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners is I'm not hitting my targets on the personal side. So let me just go out earn the problem, right? I'll just go generate, make more. But then I go make more and then I end up stepping up my problem or the lifestyle. And it's just this vicious, really.
Our expenses grow with our revenue. I am shocked at how many clients, you think 7 figures of revenue is going to equate in more profit. And often it's less profit.
More money, more problems, right? I mean, this is the classic, whatever rapper saying that in a song decades ago.
Yeah, I can hear him still singing it.
We're going to date myself, right? What do we do? I think the first step, and this is going to sound therapeutic, right? Admitting that I don't know how this all works. Like admission that I might have a lot of this figured out, but I need some assistance, right? So I need an accountability partner. Admission's first step, organization, taking a look at everything that's going on is step 2. I think education, step 3, and then being willing to have that accountability partner is step 4. What I have observed, when you paint a picture of what the targets are, and one of the things we advocate with our clients is, look, the goal is to save 20% of gross income per year. If I can save 20% consistently year in and year out, I don't need to chase the crazy rates of return in the investment world. I can be very strategic and deliberate on what I'm investing and how I'm diversifying assets, right?
Can I ask a clarifying question before you keep going?
Yeah.
You said 20%. For a business owner, are we talking 20% of gross sales or 20% of the business owner salary distributions?
Great question. Business owner salary or revenue distributions. Yeah, great question on the business side. Essentially what happens is the business, which is the separate entity, but it's all part of one big circle, right? So you've got the business owner. They're like, my business is generating X. This is what I'm taking out, whether it's in salary and distributions at year end. I then translate that into personal of, okay, great. You just pulled in 200, 300, 400, whatever the amount of money is. We got to save 20% of that number.
You mentioned accountability partner and organization. So I want to paint this picture for you and see if you agree with it. So I've always said we need 4 people on our money team.
Okay.
And the first person is our bookkeeper, right? So they're the person keeping everything organized. You as a business owner, you're not going to do it. It's rare. It's not what you're.
Yeah, it's not their specialty or skill set, right?
And it's not the best use of your time. So we have to have a bookkeeper. They're the person keeping everything organized. Then we have our tax accountant, and the tax accountant's position is to file the tax return. That is their number one job, is to file their tax return. They're not your business consultant. They're not your business coach. They're not building a budget. Don't ask them for anything outside of filing your tax return.
And by the way, if I can interject real quick, it's amazing how many people think that tax accountant is supposed to be their strategic advisor. And it's rare to find anybody in that space that actually does that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why we correlate the two. However, your tax account, I sat for my CPA. I'll tell you what we learned as a CPA is how to file a tax return.
That's right.
You didn't learn the business stuff. Okay. Then the third member is either a coach or a CFO, but somebody who can help you plan for the future, bring together your personal and your business goals, and then a financial advisor. Mm-hmm. And that's where you come in to help them. How are you pulling in all those pieces of the other members of the money team to help that business owner find success?
And is that the question? How are we doing that?
Yeah.
There's a lot of FAs in my industry that will promote that they're doing that, but very few actually do. I mean, it is not a partnership, but it is a collective team, right? You need to have all pieces of the puzzle that fit together and work congruently, right? So why would you not have overlap within the bookkeeper, tax professional, and like you said, the coach/CFO? For us, I mean, we just paint the picture at the beginning of a relationship where we engage with someone that we want to be involved. We want other members of the team to be involved. We are experts at certain things, but we are by no means expert at everything. I'm not a jack of all trades, right? So, for me, as a business owner, my job on a daily basis is I literally sit on either Zoom calls or in-person meetings, and I respond to emails. I don't do anything else, right? Other than interacting with my clients and exchanging emails, everything else that is either stuff that I don't want to do or probably shouldn't be doing, it's outsourced to various either assistants or experts that do what they do. As an entrepreneur, or any entrepreneur, right? And I know I'm preaching to the choir here with you, but why would you not outsource and integrate team members and then have those team members collaborate with each other? Now, some of our clients are really good with seeing the value of doing that, and others prefer to maintain their relationships independent. I don't think that's the best way, but at the end of the day, the client gets to make the call on that, right?
Yeah. I just recorded a podcast episode this morning about tax strategies for year end. And so I thought this would be fun to talk through these. So tax accountant comes in and says, hey, business owner, you got to go max everything out, as a tax strategy, maximize your HSA, 401k, IRA, your 529 plan. But when I'm listening to you talk, there's maybe a little bit more psychology that we need to dig into, because are we just making those decisions in a narrow mind? Like, hey, I just need to make sure I'm paying as little in taxes as possible. And so I go take all this cash from my business and from my personal accounts, and I go fund all of these strategies for tax savings without really understanding my impact. So talk to me from the other side of that.
For this year, right? I mean, we live in this year. And so I see what I'm supposed to pay in taxes, or I get an estimate on what I'm paying taxes, or I'm paying my estimates as a business owner. And I don't want to owe, right? Like, it's amazing how many people I run into. They're like, I just don't want to owe anything. I'm like, oh, okay, so slow down. Like, we don't want to give a lot of interest back to the government to get this big refund. Let's think about this. So the tax strategy in a given year, which is where the accountant can certainly come into play and help with that. But we also want to be tax strategic for 30 years down the road. I mean, maxing out my HSA, great. If I'm a big fan of the HSA. I've got 5 kids. I've got exposure all over the place. Like, I want to take advantage of that great tax benefit. So I'm by default going to do that every year. Maxing out 401ks, IRAs, 529s. I mean, it's so situational. I mean, I could tell one person, I'll give you an example. I was talking to a school teacher the other day, and she's in the state of Ohio as a public school teacher. She has a pension. 14% of her income goes into her pension. The district's adding to it. Like, that pension is the big dog for their retirement, for the household, right? It probably represents 70% of everything they're going to have for retirement. Well, she's like, well, the guy's coming in and trying to get me to put money in the 403B and to max the 403B. I'm like, whoa. Like, 403Bs are fine. But when you time into a big dog pension, like your STRS pension, you don't need any more pre-tax money. Like, we got to look at other things to diversify you from a tax standpoint. So when you roll into retirement and this pension is coming out, paying you X% of your final average salary, I don't need additional pre-tax money in the 403B. When I take money out of that, it's also going to report as earned income. We got to think strategically about this, where I could tell the next person I talk to the exact opposite, because it's so situational based on what current tax bracket they fall in, what other assets they have. And I can't put all my eggs in one basket from a tax perspective. And I don't see it as much as I used to. I mean, I used to see people rolling in, they're like, look at my 401k. I'm so proud, it's 7 figures. And I'm like, yeah, that's like 93% of your total retirement. Like, you're going to feel this hurt. And you're going to be left with a lot less options in retirement because so much is in just one bucket. You also mentioned the 529. Gosh, the 529 gets so heavily marketed. And the 529 is a great vehicle, but it is not the only vehicle to save for my kids' education. One of the things we started doing a couple of years ago is we wanted to back up and talk about what we refer to as creating a launch plan for your kid. So what's a launch plan? Well, what are the pathways as a parent that I'm comfortable with my kids taking? Well, they got to go to college. Well, what happens if they go to community college? Are you cool with that? They go to trade school. What happens if they say, Mom or Dad, I want to take a gap year, or I want to get into business right out of high school, or I want to go into the workforce? And they're like, yeah, I'm not cool with the gap year. I'm like, are you cool with all the others? And they're like, yeah, I'm cool with all the others. So is your funding that you're going to allocate towards your kid going post high school into the next phase of life, does that money that you saved up apply to all these pathways? Because the 529 we can't use if the kid goes into business or wants to go into the workforce, or let's say you've got money left over because they went to trade school and it was significantly less than traditional college pathways were. Are you going to give that money to them? Or are you not going to give that money? Like there's,
and we can roll those dollars into an IRA.
And we can. We can, right? And so it's nice that the 529s have become more flexible for pushing money into the Roth. But
for a long time, I didn't want to do the 529.
I
didn't want
to
put all my eggs there. Yeah. Right. I mean, I know the future. Well, I don't know. I have a good guess of the future of my son. And so for a long time, I didn't want to push to that path. So I think that has opened up it as a longer term strategy.
It has, and I appreciate that it's become more flexible in the last few years. But when I have these discussions about launch plans, I want people to think through what is this going to look like for you, and how do you communicate this effectively to your children before it's senior year and they're getting their offers back from schools that they apply to. And I've just seen too many people, Danielle, that come in and they're like, well, she got into her dream school. We didn't think she'd get into UVA because out of state, they only take 6%. The cost of UVA is X. And then the classic comment is, well, we're just going to have to figure this out. I'm like, we're going to have to figure this out is not a game plan. Like, that is not a strategic plan moving forward. So, you reference HSAs, 401ks. These are all registrations of accounts that every account has a pro and con. But how each account registration is not, in my opinion, so black and white. It's really gray and contingent on the specific individual or household you're working with. You have to figure out how to use these tools to be as efficient as possible for that individual or household. It can't just be like everyone does this and nobody does that.
Yeah. Instagram knows what I do for a living. And so it serves me up a lot of tax influencers. That is a thing.
I'm aware. I'm aware. My clients have brought that up. They're like, well, I was watching TikTok last night. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Tell me about it.
Mm-hmm. What's TikTok telling you to do today?
So I just want to invite, as people are hearing this information from Instagram, from TikTok, to use your money team so that they can help you apply it to your specific situation. They want to hear from you. They want to help you apply it. It's not that they're ignoring these options. They're already thinking through them. And so bring that forward so you can hear from your money team and their approach to these situations.
Yep.
Okay, what have I not asked you that if you could speak to every business owner around the psychology of money and how they're approaching investing, how they're approaching money, what would be your overarching advice or comment to them?
If you haven't built, as you refer to, your money team, that's critical. Building the money team is showing your ability to be proactive, right? And I think you need to be proactive. I mean, there are certain things in finance as well as in life where it's a reactive component, but gosh, there's a lot of things you could do proactively in finance. And I find that when you are proactive and seeking guidance from your money team and utilizing the resources that are available to you, gosh, the stress and the anxiety of money tends to dissipate or is reduced significantly. I would break it down into two phases. The phase 2, which is that sexy part of finance, the investing, which is really fun to do and people enjoy it. But probably the biggest slip up I see is people skip past phase 1, right? And phase 1 is, I go back and I'm on repeat a little bit, but setting certain boundaries, setting certain targets. We did a lot of research to come up with that 20% target towards saving for future planning, and that includes whether you're putting money into 401ks, IRAs, Roths, HSAs, 529s, brokerage accounts. It all counts towards that 20% target. But setting those boundaries and targets and working to achieve them. We collectively as a country need to raise our personal household savings rate. I'm not sure how great that is for the bigger economy. I'm more concerned about my personal economy than I am the bigger economy. So I can go off on a tangent on that in a second. But the secret to success with finance is all in phase 1. It's all found in systematic savings discipline, keeping your debt ratios under a certain percentage, not buying a house that's too big, not buying the car before you can't afford it, not putting the pool in before you can't afford it. We want to do so many things. And I think we just we leapfrog into doing these things before we really think about, can I afford it or not? And it's, once again, it's that instant gratification. It's keeping up with the Joneses. It's materialism. You're making other people very wealthy. Good job. I want to make sure that I'm wealthy as well. So I can ramble about this. I get pretty passionate about this, Danielle. So I'll pause for a second.
Well, I'm right there with you. I always say it is beautiful marketing by Target and Amazon to create a whole economy of people who think it's funny to have a package show up at their house every day. And, it's become funny. And so it's great marketing for companies like Amazon. So I play the 48-hour rule. So that's my game. So if I want something, I can have the dopamine hit of adding it to the cart.
Yep.
I have to close the browser and wait 48 hours before I'm actually allowed to purchase it. And I'm allowed to come back in 48 hours. And if I really want that purchase, like if I actually need it, I can make that purchase at that time.
Smart move. I like it. And by the way, when I say all these things about living within our means and setting boundaries, I love things too. I love packages that show up at the door. I want to do things. I want to take great vacations and live in a nice house, right? So we will often discuss the difference of kind of a scarcity mindset into trying to shift into more of an abundance mentality. And I pay for things that I never thought I would buy now, but I am totally comfortable in doing that because I know all my other check marks have been checked, right? Like, do I have a giving plan set up to help others that are less fortunate? Am I well protected against life catastrophic events? Am I saving what I'm supposed to save? Am I taking care of my debt obligations? And then whatever's left over, I can just spend on what I want. Only catch is if I fail on one of those previous components, then I have to come back and either readjust or check and see what I'm doing that it is causing me to fall off the track. So, yeah.
I know that you are not a big fan of the budgeting tool, but I want to tie it to one of the things that we use with our clients in our CFO services. I just want to highlight the commonality here.
Yeah.
We practice the ability as business owners, let's set that 10-year goal first. So our first few calls with our CFO clients, we are setting a 10-year goal, a 3-year goal, doing a complete SWOT analysis. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Yes, you need accurate bookkeeping to file taxes or apply for that loan. But honestly, that's not the real reason. The real reason is because bad bookkeeping, it's hiding all of your problems. At Kickstart Accounting, we've seen it all. Doubled income, missing expenses, and air quote, healthy looking QuickBooks dashboards that are just masking financial chaos. QuickBooks and AI tools, they won't tell you when your data is wrong. They just make it look pretty. And that's why we created the Check Your Books service. Our team of real human experts run a 25-point accuracy review of your QuickBooks, checking every transaction, every reconciliation, and every balance sheet line. Then we record a personalized video walkthrough so you know exactly what's right, what's wrong, and how healthy your books really are. No more guessing. No more pretending everything's fine. It's humans to human walking you through the truth about your business. Now, if you're ready for this, go to kickstartaccountinginc.com/checkYourBooks. We'll get started today so that you can step into your role as CEO with confidence. And then from all that information, we are creating the budget. And I know that a budget can feel like we're putting parameters around spending and we're just going to overspend around it. But I think for some people, it gives them the opportunity to spend. Like, hey, I actually do have some dollars to invest in training this year. I should probably go to a conference. It's been a few years. And for other people, it might be, all right, look, I attended 3 conferences last year. I dial that back. Let me only put 1 in the budget this year and actually stick to that. And I think the piece that you were just saying was if we could, as business owners, take that time to actually look at where we did spend this month compared to where we thought we would spend and do something about it, right? So if I didn't make as much revenue as I thought I would, well, then I have to reforecast. I have to cut down my spending in areas. I have to ask myself why this is happening before I can continue to spend as a business owner, because I want business owners to see their business as an opportunity to fuel them as a whole person. We have to have a retirement outside of selling our business.
Right.
We need to have investments outside of our business. And so I think that these tools give us the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I'm glad you shared that. While I kind of poo-poo budgeting, traditional budgeting, right? My reverse tracking mechanism budgeting that people will often do. I am a hawk on every number that is going on within my business, right? And how that translates into personal. And I break it all down by categories. And I know every month where the numbers are. And I think that's what you're speaking to, is be able to look and see what the inflows and outflows and what we're directing towards certain expenses and not. and then looking at trending behavior. The data to me is fascinating, and I want to know that data. Forgive me for shooting down the traditional budgeting commentary.
But I'm with you on a traditional budget. Like for a personal budget, I'm with you on that. But for a business tool, I want business owners. Yeah, I want them to know the difference between that. Here's what I think that we can leave listeners with is I think that people can hear how much similarities there are here. And if you can find a money team that can work together. So I just want to encourage people to find a money team who your financial advisor can have a conversation with your CPA and your bookkeeper can have a conversation with one another. We're all here to support you. And there's a lot of commonality that Brad and I have here and the way that we want to support business owners. And so find that money team that can support you. That way you don't feel so alone in entrepreneurship.
You're absolutely right. It's critical. I mean, I even reflect on my own business, that's been around for 20 plus years and the successes that we've had and pitfalls and mistakes that you make along the way, because it's never perfect. And then I even look, like you talk about SWOT analysis, how important it is to do that. I mean, I look at probably a list of opportunities in my business that I should be taking advantage of. And what is it, the cobbler's kids go without shoes sometimes, right? Like the classic phrase, saying that correctly. And I'm like, there are things I totally need to be doing that I'm not doing. And why am I not doing those things, right? And do I have the right partners holding me accountable, knowing what my opportunities are? Am I sharing those goals with those resources and those team members? Because once you kind of put it out in the air, and then if you've got people to hold you accountable, then
it's real.
You can't make excuses, right? So I think your summary is spot on. There are a ton of great resources out there. Sometimes entrepreneurs may not know that these resources even exist, or if they do find them, I think you're talking about what percentage of the time are they actually reaching out to say, let's get to work on this. So
yeah, reach out, say, let's get to work. How can listeners find you? Do you work with clients outside of the state of Ohio?
I do. It's fascinating. Clients all over the world. It's learning about different cultures and languages. This is fascinating.
That's amazing.
So I don't do any marketing. People give me a hard time about this all the time. I do have a website, which is, maybe I should do more. It's goorangefinancial.com, goorangefinancial.com. Okay. It's a pretty basic website, so don't get too excited about it if anyone actually goes to it. But it does have contact information. There's a way to get a hold of us.
Okay, well, we'll do this. If anyone's interested in learning more about Brad and how you support, you can go to that website, and you can also email your Kickstart accounting team. We will have you on our community directory so we can give you a specific introduction directly to you and your team.
Thanks, Danielle.
Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Business by the Books. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. This is the #1 way we can help other entrepreneurs find this podcast. Because here at Kickstart Accounting Inc., it is our mission to help entrepreneurs understand their numbers, get access to this information, and grow and thrive in their business. So please help me help other entrepreneurs understand their numbers so they can finally grow and thrive.